Today on Mother Mayhem.
All of you listening in on this conversation, you're worthy of taking up space too. This whole entire experience, it is the work. Listening to yourself and your needs, allowing yourself to have your needs met, that is the work. Welcome back to Mother Mayhem, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast for Daughters. Hi, I'm your host, Heather Gray, and I am so very glad you're here with me today. Today's episode is important to me, and I think in listening, it's probably going to become important to you too. I want to introduce you to a listener, Rory. I named her Rory from Gilmore Girls, and hopefully I earned some points with my sister for doing so because Gilmore Girls is her favorite show. I picked the name Rory for today's listener because Rory, the character, is earnest, sincere, seeking, and so very well-intentioned. She often felt lost when she wasn't, and she felt her feelings in a really big way and really worked hard for what was true and what was fair. Her relationships mattered to her. Doing the right thing was important to her, as was being fair. And that's how I came to know today's dear listener. Rory, the podcast listener, reached out to me and shared her story, and I had hoped that her story would become this week's podcast episode that you're listening to today. But it's too soon. Her trauma is too raw, and we decided together that she needs to work through it a bit more on her own with her therapist and with other supports before it's put out to the whole world to listen to. And just moving on and putting this whole experience in the rearview mirror, it isn't working for me. I started recording next week's episode and needed to stop because I can't just skip it and move on to the next episode as if this never happened. It's not business as usual for me because this business of mine, we really do talk about some really hard feelings here and we talk about some really big things. Somehow it feels disrespectful of that experience that Rory and I had in working on that episode if I just skip it and get on with recording the next episode. So I'm not going to. So here's where I landed. I have a letter from me to Rory that I'm going to read here to all of you because she is you and you are her. And all of you need to hear this. So here goes. Dear Rory, I'm sure the people pleaser in you is freaking out right now that we were going to turn this into an episode and opted not to. I want you to know that it's okay. I really, really think we made the right call. It wasn't the right time. We hear a lot about how speaking our truth isn't easy. And man, that is so true. But I imagine hearing our truth reflected back to ourselves is even harder. And I think a lot of the times that's why getting to therapy is so hard for people, because hearing yourself say your truth out loud, it isn't for the faint of heart. Here's the first thing I want you to know. I believe you. I believed you from your first word. Here's the second thing I want you to know. What happened to you was a trauma. It was real, and you are worthy of and deserving of healing. I know you've already been working so hard on that, and I really, really urge you to keep going. I know you second guess yourself and that you question if it was really that bad or you doubt the details of your memory. It really was that bad, Rory, and you didn't deserve it, and it wasn't your fault. None of this happened because you weren't lovable or because you weren't worthy and deserving of love. This only happened because your mom is emotionally limited and impaired in her ability to give and receive love. This would have happened to any child who was born unto her. Talking about all of this is so hard for you because your body, it knows the truth. And sometimes I imagine it feels like your body is on fire and that it's betraying you. It steals your breath. It alters your breathing, it makes your heart race, and gets you so very, very anxious. As a result, sometimes you struggle with being at rest and with being at peace. Rest and peace are so wildly unfamiliar to your body that it feels like you're doing something wrong if you give it rest or allow it some joy. Just like you deserve love and you deserve your truth to be heard, you deserve to be at rest too, Rory. You deserve peace and you deserve joy. And I know you're used to people in the personal development space saying these things, and intellectually, you may even know that it's true for you too. It just doesn't always feel that way for you, and I get it. Your body has been caught in fight, flight, or freeze for so long that even getting out of it feels scary because you feel so largely alone in this experience and have been finding your own way with it. I imagine it's scary for you that I believed you so easily, that I didn't make you prove it. And I bet it was really, really strange for you to simply be accepted, trusted, and believed. You didn't have to fight for understanding. You didn't have to diminish your truth. You didn't have to make it easier for me to swallow. And you didn't have to take it back. And as healing as I'd like to think that was, I bet it also probably rattled you a bit because you know what? We don't talk often enough about how healing itself is scary and how our bodies sometimes can reject healing because trauma brain is so intense and it keeps us on guard for the next bad thing to happen. Rory, you found this podcast. You're in therapy. You're doing the work. With me, you got practice at asking for help, at accepting help, and at taking up space. And it is scary to take up space when that is something that has never been allowed to you. Figuring out how to take up space, how much space you're comfortable taking up, and how to navigate all of the feelings that come with taking up space is a lot to sort through. And honestly, I really do get it. I am so grateful our paths cross and that you allowed yourself to take up space with me. And I hope you start to let more people in too as you grow more comfortable with yourself, your story, and your truth. Because, Rory, you deserve to take up space. And all of you listening in on this conversation, you're worthy of taking up space too. This whole entire experience, it is the work. Listening to yourself and your needs, allowing yourself to have your needs met, that is the work. Speaking your truth, having your truth be believed is the work. Teaching your body to calm and to give it permission to be calm is doing the work. There is no part of the work that states that true healing can only happen so long as you're willing to speak it out loud on a podcast for other daughters to hear. I promise you that, Rory. You are doing the work. And right now, you are in the hardest part. You're naming it. You're saying this happened to you. And you're coming to a place of identifying what you need. It would be so good and so convenient if this could all just happen in steps and in a straight line. But trauma work doesn't work like that. And it certainly doesn't look like that. Trauma work is messy, hard, and usually presents as one hot freaking mess. You have a community of women listening in on this chat, and they know this to be true for themselves too. You are by no means alone. You are in the company of so many other women around the world who are in this with you. They don't know you, Rory. They haven't heard your story, and they already believe you too. I hope you'll give yourself permission to take that in. And I hope all of you listening to me right now take this in for yourselves. Consider this to be my love letter to all of you. Next week, we're tackling another hard topic. I don't think there's an easy topic in our conversations. We're tackling the holidays. Managing the holidays with a narcissistic mom really stirs a lot of shit up. Managing the grief that comes with the holiday season hurts. It hurts a whole heck of a lot. You're all managing so very much right now. And I hope it comforts you at least a little bit to know that you're all in it together. And I'm in it with you too. Love, Heather. I'm so grateful that you're here. You're right where you're supposed to be. At its heart, I'm hoping to use this show to build a community of women working together to heal from childhoods marked by maternal narcissism and emotional neglect. My goal for Mother Mayhem is that this show becomes an advice and mentoring driven show where you share your questions, struggles, and stories, and I offer you direction for healing and recovery. That can't happen without your contributions. I invite you to send a recorded voice memo or write in an email with your questions and things you're struggling with. You can always find me over at heather@daughtersnpd.com. To connect further, I invite you to find me over at Instagram and occasionally on TikTok at DaughtersNPD. If you know another woman who needs this conversation in her life, I'm going to ask that you share the show with her. You can help me get the word out with your reviews and social shares of the show, and I hope you'll consider doing so. Special thanks to Heather Clark for editing this show. She's in my head and knows what I meant to say when the words come out backwards. Thanks for your time today. I'm always in it with you. Bye for now.